In a space where dreams should take flight, Marcus Reynolds is grounded by prejudice. A young black aviation hopeful faces humiliation, suspicion, and injustice, all for daring to belong. The heavy stomp of boots shattered the calm in Pinehaven International Airport's pilot lounge. 2 security officers marched in, their dark gray uniforms crisp, badges catching the glare of fluorescent lights. The taller one led with intensity, while Captain Malene Brooks jabbed a finger at Marcus Reynolds, her voice cutting across the room. "That's him. Detain him now. Unauthorized access, forged ID. We've got a serious breach." Marcus' throat dried up, knees buckling as the larger officer advanced. "Step aside, son." "Hand over the badge," he barked, locking eyes with Marcus. "I haven't done anything wrong, sir," Marcus pleaded, trying to steady his voice. "I'm part of Reynolds Aviation's career program. Vanessa Reynolds from HR brought me here. Please, just call her." The officers exchanged a glance, unmoved. One of them grabbed his radio. Possible intruder. Suspected fake ID. Awaiting further instruction. A few pilots nearby murmured, arms folded, some shaking their heads. Marcus felt their stares pierce through him. He had imagined this moment, standing where real pilots stood, but never as a suspect, not because of the color of his skin. Captain Brooks smirked. "They always pull this trick. Act confused, talk their way out of it. Meanwhile, they're gathering intel. Industrial espionage, plain and simple." The murmurs around him grew louder, feeding off her words. Marcus clenched his fists, the pain anchoring him. "Please," he begged, "just let me call my dad. He'll explain everything." Brooks let out a cold laugh. "Your dad? Let me guess. Janitor, probably the one who helped you sneak in. That did it." Marcus' jaw tightened. Before he could reply, the taller officer gripped his arm. "Let's go, kid. We'll sort this somewhere else." Marcus' heart thundered as they led him away, his dream unraveling with each step. The taller officer's glare cut like steel, while the second flanked him closely. Captain Brooks pointed again, voice dripping with disdain. "He's the one. Get him out and search him top to bottom." This wasn't accidental. He knew what he was doing. The older officer, likely in his 50s, studied Marcus with a tired frown. "Young man, we need to verify your identity. Come with us." Marcus instinctively backed up, panic rising. "Please, sir, I really was allowed here. Miss Reynolds brought me. Just call her." "I swear I'm not lying," Brooks cut in, voice like a blade. "He's in violation. Flight safety's non-negotiable. We're done here." Marcus felt the room tilt. Sweat chilled his spine. No one spoke for him. No one dared. He gripped his phone with trembling hands. "Please, let me call my dad." Brooks folded her arms, grinning. "Sure. Maybe he's scrubbing toilets nearby. After this, neither of you are coming back." The silence was crushing. Marcus dialed. Each ring echoed like a countdown, and then his 6th birthday memory at Pinehaven surfaced, under a giant plane with his dad. That memory held him steady, for now. The officer towered over Marcus, his voice hard as steel. "If you don't cooperate, young man, we'll consider this resisting law enforcement," he said, tone firm and final. Marcus struggled to breathe, his heartbeat roaring in his ears, drowning out the hushed murmurs nearby. In the corner of his vision, airport staff whispered among themselves, some even pulling out phones, capturing the scene as though it were entertainment, not a teenager's private crisis. Captain Malene Brooks stood with arms folded, her eyes gleaming with twisted satisfaction, as if she'd just thwarted a national threat. "See?" she hissed. "That's how infiltrators work. Quiet, harmless looking, until they strike. If we hadn't stepped in, who knows what he could have done." Her words stung deeper than any physical blow. Marcus wanted to speak, to explain, to fight back, but every word died in his throat, choked by fear and injustice. His fingers gripped the badge like a lifeline, silently pleading for someone, anyone, to defend him. But the silence roared back. No Vanessa Reynolds, no ally, only judgmental eyes and cold stares. With a dry throat and trembling voice, Marcus managed, "Please, I just need to call my dad." "Thomas Reynolds. He works for Reynolds Aviation. He can explain." Malene scoffed, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Oh, your dad? What's he going to do? Mop faster to clean up your mess." Her laughter was sharp, cruel, and echoing, slicing through Marcus like ice. "Go ahead, call him. Let's see what good that'll do." His hands shook violently as he tried unlocking his phone. Every second dragged like an eternity. He dialed. One ring, then two, then three. With each unanswered tone, despair pulled him deeper. But then, a memory. His father lifting him into a sleek cockpit years ago, voice calm and proud. "You belong up here, son. Don't ever forget that." That single flash of love and purpose was enough to keep him standing. "I'm not a criminal," Marcus whispered, barely audible. It was all he had left. Captain Brooks leaned in, a smirk playing on her lips. "So you really had to call Daddy, huh?" she sneered, voice thick with mockery. "Figures. You should have known your place the second you walked in." Her words cut clean. Marcus blinked back tears, throat burning, but he clung to his father's voice in his mind. "Stay calm, son. I'm on my way." It was the only thing holding him together. The taller officer still eyed him with suspicion. "Crying won't save you, kid. Folks like you sneaking into restricted zones. People get fired, or worse." Marcus swallowed the rising emotion, fists clenched, vision blurred. He wouldn't break. Not now. Not after everything the officer's radio crackled. "Unit 7, report. Suspect secured in the pilot lounge." The reply came, cold and final. Marcus stood frozen, surrounded by suspicion. The cold stare of the officer, the snide smirk of Captain Brooks, and the quiet murmurs spreading through the room pressed in on him from every side. He felt trapped. No doors, no exit, no one willing to believe him. The tall officer adjusted his grip, his expression unreadable but his hold unyielding. The silence between radio calls felt heavier than any chains. Captain Brooks began pacing slowly, her boots clicking against the polished floor. "Let this be a lesson," she said to no one and everyone. "You don't get to just walk into places you don't belong and expect a warm welcome." Marcus felt every word like a shove to the chest. He looked around, faces turned away, whispers buzzing like static. No one would meet his eyes. No one stood between him and the lie being written about him in real time. "I'm not trespassing," Marcus said, voice soft but steady now. "I was invited here. I earned this chance." Brooks turned to him, eyebrow raised. "Earned?" she mocked. "With a fake badge and a made-up story? You think that makes you a pilot?" "I don't need to be a pilot yet," Marcus replied, lifting his chin slightly. "I just need a chance to become one." The crowd quieted. Even the officer holding Marcus seemed momentarily unsure, but Captain Brooks wasn't done. "You really think quoting after-school special lines will save you? This isn't a feel-good movie. This is real life. You're caught. End of story." Marcus clenched his jaw. No one was going to rewrite his ending for him. Not like this. Just then, his phone vibrated, Dad calling back. Marcus nearly dropped it in shock, scrambling to answer. "Dad, please, I need you now." Thomas Reynolds' voice came through, calm but urgent. "I'm already on the way, son. Don't say another word." Brooks rolled her eyes. "Oh, perfect. Daddy to the rescue." Marcus ignored her. For the first time since the nightmare began, hope flickered. He tightened his grip on the phone and on his dignity. He wasn't running. He wasn't lying, and no matter how loud the accusations grew, he wasn't alone anymore. Thomas turned to his son, his voice gentler than before. "I'm here, son. You're safe now." Marcus couldn't hold it in any longer. Tears spilled down his cheeks as he gasped. "Dad, I was so scared, I know," Thomas murmured, wrapping him in a firm, protective embrace. "But no one gets to treat you like this." The entire room fell silent, the reality of what had just unfolded settling like fog over everyone present. The judgmental whispers faded. No one dared to meet Thomas's piercing gaze. Then Thomas faced them all, voice calm but cutting. "Let this moment teach you something. The next time you're quick to judge someone based on your own prejudice, remember this: you nearly destroyed a young man's future." Without another word, he placed a steady hand on Marcus's shoulder and led him toward the door. Behind them, Captain Malling Brooks and the others remained frozen, their faces burning with unspoken shame. For the first time, Marcus felt truly seen, and at last, safe. All eyes shifted to Captain Brooks, expecting a defiant retort. But she had nothing. Her lips parted, then shut again, her usual sharp tongue muted. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she realized no excuse, no explanation could justify what she'd done. The truth, laid bare, left her defenseless. Then a new figure stepped forward, David Jackson, his commanding presence silencing even the deepest corners of the room. "Your prejudice led you to single out a bright young black student," he said firmly, eyes locked on Brooks. "Not because he posed a real threat, but because of your own narrow assumptions. That is completely unacceptable." The room shifted uncomfortably. Some pilots who had earlier stood idly by now glanced at each other, visibly unsettled. A few cast quiet, regretful looks toward Marcus. Most couldn't even meet David's gaze. Turning to the two security officers, David's voice sharpened. "Did you verify his ID? Speak to the program director? Or did you just follow orders without question?" One of them cleared his throat. We were going to, sir. But we were told to remove him immediately." "Exactly what I thought," David snapped. "From this point on, anyone interfering with my son's participation in this program answers to me and the FOO. He then turned to Marcus, his expression softening. "Son, you did nothing wrong. You stood your ground while the world tried to break you. I'm proud of you." Marcus's throat tightened, but this time it wasn't fear. It was pride, relief, hope. "Thank you, Dad. I knew you'd come." David nodded, then turned back to Brooks. His voice was cool as steel. "Expect to hear from the FAA's disciplinary board. I suggest you prepare your defense, if you have one." Then, placing a guiding hand on Marcus's back, he led him from the pilot's lounge. The crowd parted like water, respect rippling in their wake. For the first time all day, Marcus walked tall, his father's promise echoing in every step. David's voice lingered behind them like a final decree. Discrimination and abuse of authority have no place in aviation. Our mission is to ensure dignity and safety for everyone, regardless of background, race, or appearance. What happened today violates everything we stand for. The room absorbed his words like stone beneath a storm. Every person present felt the weight of it settle into their bones. Even the officers who once followed Brooks now stood stiffly, uncomfortable in their guilt. David turned again to Marcus. "You've endured more today than anyone ever should, especially on a day that was meant to celebrate your dreams. But you didn't fold. You held your ground. That's the spirit of a true aviator, courage under pressure." Marcus's chest swelled. This time his smile wasn't from relief. It came from the strength his father's words gave him. "Thanks, Dad. I'll never forget this." David smiled gently, the hard lines of his face easing. "Come on, son, let's go home. There's nothing left to prove. You've already won." Side by side, they walked out of the lounge. A space once cold and hostile now stood as a quiet witness to the power of truth and love. No one said a word, but every pair of eyes followed them with a mix of awe, regret, and reflection. Some felt ashamed. Others silently vowed to be better. But none could deny the strength they had just witnessed in a young boy and his father. As they stepped into the terminal, Marcus lifted his head higher than ever before. The heavy weight pressing on his chest had finally lifted. His dreams remained untouched, his passion intact, and beside him always was his greatest ally, his father. The sun dipped low behind the airport's glass windows, casting a warm golden glow across the tarmac. Marcus paused, watching a jet rise into the fading light, and smiled. He knew it now. No one could ever clip his wings. As he watched the jet rise gracefully into the golden sky, Elijah smiled, a real, hopeful smile for the first time that day. One day, he thought, that'll be me up there, soaring free of judgment, free of doubt. Because that day, Elijah didn't just defend his dream. He proved the sky has no limits. But Elijah Jackson's story didn't end in that break room where justice was finally served. It was just the beginning of something far more powerful. His experience became a turning point, not only for him, but for countless other dreamers across the nation. In the wake of the incident and his father David Jackson's decisive stand, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, took action. Meaningful, lasting action. Policies were revised, procedures tightened, and a promise was made. No future aviator would face what Elijah had endured. Invitations began pouring in. Elijah was asked to speak at schools, aviation camps, and leadership conferences. He stood before packed auditoriums of young minds, future pilots, engineers, and explorers, many of them seeing themselves in him. No longer burdened by doubt or fear, he spoke with calm confidence, his voice clear and unwavering. He shared the pain of being judged for the color of his skin, the fear of losing everything he had worked for, and the crushing weight of being falsely accused. But more than that, he spoke of triumph, of truth, courage, and the power of standing your ground. He reminded each audience that injustice thrives in silence, but justice lives in bold voices. And with each story he told, Elijah understood that his words were no longer just his. They belonged to every kid who had ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told they didn't belong. His message never changed. Aviation needs you, your voice, your background, your dream. Diversity is not a weakness, it's our strength. The skies are big enough for all of us. And I stand here today to prove it. Those words always landed like thunder. Audiences rose in applause. Some cried. Many walked away with their heads held higher than before. Elijah had become more than a speaker. He was a symbol of resilience, of what happens when someone dares to fight for what's right. Meanwhile, consequences came swiftly for Captain Rebecca Whitman. The FAA launched a full investigation, uncovering a disturbing pattern. This wasn't her first offense. Multiple past complaints painted a clear picture of racial bias and misconduct. She was immediately suspended, her license revoked. In an industry built on safety, discipline, and professionalism, there was no place for prejudice. The punishment wasn't personal. It was essential. It sent a message across the aviation world. No title, no rank, and no years of experience give anyone the right to discriminate. Accountability would no longer be optional. David Jackson made sure the case wouldn't fade into a headline. He used it as fuel for reform. Under his leadership and public support, the FAA introduced rigorous anti-bias training, stronger oversight, and new systems designed to detect and prevent discrimination. Airlines across the country followed suit, revisiting everything from their hiring practices to their security protocols. Through Elijah's painful yet pivotal experience, the aviation industry saw what prejudice could cost and what justice could create. For Elijah, the incident became more than a memory. It became a mission. Every step forward wasn't just for himself anymore, but for every child afraid that who they were might keep them grounded. With the support of his father, the FAA, and an ever-growing circle of allies, Elijah embraced his new role as an advocate, a voice, and a trailblazer. He was named a youth ambassador for inclusion in aviation. His story reached national platforms, inspiring thousands. And every time he stepped up to speak, the boy who once feared being silenced became the voice that couldn't be ignored. At aviation summits, leadership forums, and classrooms across the country, Elijah Jackson's name became more than a symbol. It became a legacy. Scholarships were established in his honor, aimed at supporting underprivileged students who dreamed of breaking into the skies, just like he once had. Still, Elijah never lost sight of his own goals. Every moment in the flight simulator, every written exam, every maneuver practiced with precision, each step brought him closer to the cockpit he once feared would be taken from him. Then one day, as he stood on the tarmac watching a Boeing 787 soar into the endless blue, a quiet peace settled over him. The same airport that had once been the backdrop of humiliation was now the stage for his rising destiny. His dreams weren't just alive, they were taking flight. Elijah knew this was only the beginning, but he also understood something deeper. His struggle had shattered barriers, not just for himself, but for an entire generation of dreamers who had been waiting to feel seen. From a distance, David Jackson watched his son with pride. The fight he had once waged to protect his boy's future had grown into a movement, a wave of change rippling through the aviation industry and far beyond. Elijah Jackson's journey is a story of pain, yes, but more than that, it is a story of justice, resilience, and transformation. Through it, we witness the harsh consequences of prejudice, but even more powerfully, we saw what happens when truth is defended with courage and heart. No one should ever have their dreams derailed because of their skin color, social background, or where they come from. Elijah's experience stands as a timeless reminder. Prejudice can find its way into even the most professional spaces, but so can integrity when people are brave enough to bring it. That day, it wasn't Elijah's abilities that were doubted, it was his identity. And yet, what could have ended as a story of defeat became a moment that redefined not just his life, but the conscience of an entire industry. Thanks to his father's unwavering stand, the backing of the FAA, and the power of justice, Elijah's dignity was not only restored, it was magnified. His experience sent a message that echoed far and wide. Rank and authority do not excuse discrimination. In fields where lives and dreams are on the line, there can be no tolerance for bias. This story also reminds us that our deepest trials often become our greatest teachers. Elijah could have bowed under the weight of that day. But instead, he rose, turning adversity into fuel, not just for his journey, but for others walking the same path in silence. He became a symbol of hope for anyone who's ever questioned their worth, been judged by their appearance, or felt they didn't belong. His voice now echoes a truth many need to hear. It's not enough to dream. You must also protect those dreams, especially when they're threatened by injustice. And it's never just about fighting for ourselves. It's about clearing the path so others don't have to fight the same battles we did. For parents, educators, professionals, and community leaders, Elijah's story is a call to action, to raise the next generation to know their value. to challenge injustice when it appears, to make sure and